Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I am joined today by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Thank you for having me here.
Of course, it is always a pleasure to have you, and again, you are here for our continued journey through 52 years of film, 1970 through 2022. This week marks 1983 for us, and with 83, we thought, what movie stands truly more controversial to this day than Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard plenty about this movie, obviously. If you haven't seen it, you've at least heard of it. And I'd never seen it. But I'd heard a ton. And I'm all right with it. I'm having a little bit of the Blade Runner effect that I had last week, where I'm like, okay, I get visually, I'm stimulated, but there's some spots where it's like, come on, what are we doing?
It's just, it felt like I was just watching a thing after a while. I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Bored.
Like, it's just like I'm just watching, just hoping for the next thing to happen, basically, at some points. Like, it was dragging on. There were some parts that were exciting and good, and, like, obviously, like, iconic parts.
One of the most quotable movies of all time.
Mm-hmm. Like Al Pacino, I mean, come on. Like, one of the most, like, recognizable characters, like, of all time. Like
Tony Montana.
Yeah, like, even without watching the movie, say hello to my little friend,
Oh, that's been parodied.
And everyone knows the character without even seeing the movie. So, like, there is that to give it. It's just, I don't know. Not a very...
Let's lay the groundwork. Released on December 9th, 1983. It was written by Oliver Stone. And uncredited are Howard Hawks and Ben Hecht. Directed by Brian De Palma, starring Al Pacino, Scarface. This was not so critically acclaimed. 8 nominations, no wins, a few Golden Globes, but nothing above that.
Interesting. It was nominated for the most quoted movie in the All Deaf Movie Awards. That's an interesting award.
From 2016.
Yeah. That's kind of a cool award.
It is pretty quoted. It's first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was and that's the thing I'll say. It's memorable. Like, I certainly won't forget this movie anytime soon. It was it dragged at several points. Like, I think the story kind of just left me like, what are we doing here? Like, we saw him at, like, his lowest low. We see kind of a rise, but, like, the rise is, like, really quick, and he's, like, really, really up top pretty quick. Like, he's making $1 million deals.
Very quickly.
Like, wait a second. I thought he, like, okay. And then he's on his fall. Very, like, I know it's like an hour into an hour left into the movie, and it's 3 hours long. So it's like, but it just took a while to get there somehow. Like, it was such a confusing movie to watch, because I was like, how is this both skipping things and the longest movie I've ever seen in my life?
Yeah, like, the whole who's the first guy that like brings him in? The guy that he whoever the American was that had like the pie symbol necklace.
Oh shit.
Whoever he was. Like he was with him, and then he went to like Colombia, and then he's like coming back and like talking to him, but he's like above him already, and then it's just like all confusing, and like you're like, what, like does he still work for this guy, or is he like just egging him on, or like I don't know, like it was just kind of confusing, like just how quickly this dude was moving up.
Well, it was also interesting because I was just like, I had a bad taste going into this movie, like in my mouth for this film, because it feels notoriously like one of the douchebags really enjoy this movie and like really made it like a staple of who they are. At a point, there wasn't a douchebag in the world who didn't have a Scarface poster on his wall in the early 2000s.
True. That's a fair point.
I expected that, and when I meet Tony Montana, there's not a moment that I like this guy. I kind of want to root for him being like from his lowest lows and like trying to make it in America and stuff, I wanted to root for him, but like he was just ceaselessly shitty, like the whole movie.
Like even from the start, like dude let his homie Angel die for like $5,000. That's all they were in it for, was like $5,000. Like that was that first deal. He was only getting $5,000 out of that, and like he let a dude die. He let a chainsaw chop into a dude's head for $5,000, bro. Like I was like, dude, for real? Like, if you were actually in that situation, you'd just be like, okay, man, I'm only in it for like $5,000. Like, I'm just the messenger. Like, dude, the money's in the car. Like, dude, go get it. Like, right. That's what would really happen. Like in real life, like you wouldn't. I don't know. I guess Tony Montana, he only has his word, and that's all he has in the world. That's all he has in the world. So,
Tony Montana.
No matter how much money this is, he's gotta protect it, And
I love there are things about this movie I have seemed to kind of not liked this movie according to what I've said so far. Like the fantastical nature of it, the kind of Shakespearean tragedy-esque feel of certain elements of the movie that could have been executed to a higher degree, but seemed to like. What's kind of shitty is that like. It's set in Miami in the 80s, so you're grounded in this real world feel. But the story they're telling is pretty fantastical. It's not one that's supposed to be believable and necessarily like, oh, this could happen. Because there are multiple times in that first hour where you're like, how has Frank not just murdered this motherfucker? Dude, just kill Tony. You're at this high level, just like kill this guy, because that's what would happen. You know what I'm saying? In theory, like he was doing way too much, and I guess that's just kind of trying to create the contrast between Frank and Tony as potential leaders, how Tony is willing to go that extra mile. And my thing is that we've seen a meteoric rise in a similar, organized crime fashion, played by Al Pacino. And Michael Corleone, that to me was much, much more satisfying.
Oh yeah. Like they're both a movie about like analyzing evil, or like, how power corrupts. I'd say it's like a very common trend with his character, but this one just doesn't have the super satisfying story to back it. Like it's really just this dude is climbing the ranks and he's killing people and he's like making big money deals. Like I don't know, it's not like not very deep, I guess you could say. It's just very
no, yeah.
it all seems
like
I only finished this movie a couple hours ago, and it's only the first time I'd seen it. I haven't done any reading or anything on it, so it's like I don't really like. I really don't know how to feel about this movie because it's like one of the like I have this thing where I call like the best bad movies because like for an example, there's a movie in recent years with Hayden Christensen and Emma Roberts. It's called Little Italy. It's terrible. It's a bad movie, but boy, do I enjoy it. I love watching that movie. So it's one of the best bad movies. This one takes the best bad movie to like a different level, and that it's like it is so well made, and at several points so well acted. But there is something here that makes me go, I am not liking any of this.
I think it's really just Al Pacino that holds me into this movie, and that's it.
Oh, really? For real. Like, it absolutely is.
And, like, just the production, like that, you know, it's just like, okay, yes, this is very, very well made, and Al Pacino's killing this role. So I'm in it with that alone.
And the setting was beautiful, you know, like there were like the camera work, the soundtrack, like I really enjoyed all these things. Tony's theme was absolutely fucking awesome. I don't know if you felt like a little bit of a kinship to the theme with A Clockwork Orange a little bit.
Oh my God, thank you for saying it, because I was gonna bring it up, but I'm like, maybe I'm just hearing this soundtrack in too many things, like because I love A Clockwork Orange so much, and like I listen to that soundtrack. It was
the camera angles it would play at. It was the way they zoomed in on his face, and they played that loud synth that like, and I was like, I swear Kubrick was an inspiration in these moments.
Oh yeah, at the very end, like very very end, the song that's playing then, like it's almost the synthy A Clockwork Orange like soundtrack to a T, like just like almost like 30 seconds of it is almost identical. And
fun fact about that last sequence there, this I read far before I saw the movie, but Steven Spielberg was on set for the shooting of the last scene where they storm the compound and Al Pacino. So guess who those scenes are directed by? Tell me why they're the best scenes in the movie, and they're directed by Steven Spielberg.
That makes sense, man. Like, cause that scene, like, whenever that scene started, it was like a whole different vibe, and it's like, okay, this is where the iconic part of the movie is. You know, like it's like, bam, like, oh, I know this. I haven't seen this movie ever, but I know this whole sequence basically already. Like,
yeah,
I know he's busting through that door with a grenade, you know, like I know he's coming out gunning, and
that grenade launcher should have absolutely killed him, bro. He shot that shit 10 feet away from him.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
I love it. Dude
got pelted with like 20, 30 bullets. I mean, he was coked out.
I'm going upwards of 40.
Yeah, I guess he was coked out. I guess that could happen. Like, if you were that, because that was he was freaking.
He was in a coke rage.
He was going ham. I don't know though. That many though. Like at some point, the body just gives up. You know,
right? And it's the shotgun blast that really does him.
Yeah, that dude. That
never says a fucking word.
Like, yeah,
I'm
like
so glad you said Matrix. I was gonna say, I was also thinking like this look influenced like the Terminator and then like Matrix.
Yeah, this was like I was like, what is this dude? He just seemed like a out of world character. Like, you know, he just like, this guy doesn't belong in this movie. Like, where did he come from? Like,
right?
Wasn't it the first time we saw him? Like at the he didn't come from anywhere else, right?
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
if he did, I just don't remember him.
I feel like
he just showed up and they were like, "This is the muscle."
I feel like I would have remembered. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, like this fucking Morpheus head ass, like, bro, he was different. But there were really good elements in the movie, and the visuals were one thing that were just like, it was such vibrant. Its color palette was just astounding. The lavish living scenes where you see Tony and his fucking castle are just like, holy shit, talk about excess.
The black
marble
walls, black and gold, his chair with his initials on it. That bathtub was insane. That's a lot of water per bath.
A ton of water.
That's a lot of water. That was like a whole pool, basically.
Dude, that whole room was gold.
Yeah, dude, he saw the Pan Am, the whole world is yours, and he took that to like heart. He
took that to heart.
Yep, it is. He even put that statue right in the middle of his castle. Bam, the world is yours. Yeah, like
and he died right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. But that leads me to one aspect of the movie that I really enjoyed for even through all of its overwhelmingly melodramatic turns, was the relationship between Tony and Manny, and then both them to Gina. That was an element of the movie that was like, that was the Shakespearean part. You know, like that was the part that was like, oh, this is the true tragedy here. Like, of course, like his rise and fall is very, very like overall a tragedy, but like the true sadness in the story comes from him not having to, but murdering Manny. After coming up with him, it seems like they were on the rise together. He
picked him
up from that. Yeah. Picked him up from that like fucking 10-on-10 basketball game, whatever the fuck that was. Al Pacino doing anything is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. Basketball, dancing.
Yeah. Man, I did not think he was gonna kill him. Like that was a very like shocking moment.
Oh yeah, I
thought he was just gonna I thought he was just gonna beat the crap out of him.
Well, because like, and that was one of the most effective things in this movie was the focus on like their faces. Like, I watch everything with subtitles. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I didn't with Scarface, which is interesting because, you know, it would seem like a movie where you needed subtitles but I had to watch Al Pacino's face. I can't read anything for a second because everything he does, facial acting wise, is like the most jaw-dropping shit I've ever seen in my life. The man's incredible. And there were several good performances, and like just like it couldn't be more emphasized than when they just like stick with his face for an extended period of time. Just like watch him. Just it's his reactions to everything he's saying. Like that's like what the movie's about, you know?
He like it's just it's crazy just how like he gets a character and just sticks to it, and like it's like he's been that character for years, you know? It's like
right.
It's like that's just who he is almost. It's like I don't know.
Well,
the whole
what
accent,
really struck me.
Oh my god! Like
the accent's iconic, dude. Like say hello to my little friend. Mm-hmm. Like we all know that.
How many times was mine said in this movie?
Mine. Yeah, yo. The thing that really, really struck me about his performance in this is that like he's playing a similar archetype to Michael Corleone, and is still like not at all do I get notes of them being the same character, which is like that's hard to do. You know, if you are both rising to the leadership of an organized crime thing through, and obviously that there's some writing flaws, I think, in Scarface that kind of prevents it from being what Godfather was. But that also lends credit to the acting job that Al Pacino does, because he does fucking fantastic. And apparently this was like his brainchild, kind of. Like he, like it's based off the 1932 movie Scarface, but it was adapted to a modern age, and Al Pacino wanted to be the lead, which is just an interesting little tidbit there. It's like Al Pacino was like, no, yeah, this is I want to do this. Just get other people to figure out all the other shit, and I'm there.
Huh. I didn't even know this was like this was a remake, basically. I didn't know there was a movie before this one.
I believe the 1932 one's about Al Capone. And it's like a Prohibition era, like rise to power through alcohol. And with that, it leads me to another comparison that kind of came to mind whenever I was watching this. Like the fantastical nature of this movie kind of led me to a place that reminded me of The Great Gatsby. The whole no work with me here, but like, what was Michelle Pfeiffer's name? The blonde chick,
Elvira.
Elvie.
Yeah,
Elvie. She's the American dream here. Tony doesn't know shit about her, but she's hot. She's American. She's white. He's like, I'm gonna marry her, and I got the American dream. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get all the money, all the power, that woman, and I'll have the American dream.
Insane to sit a woman down and just be like, I want to marry you, and I want you to be the mother of my children. Think about it.
And I know we had one kiss earlier that was not even consenting. I just did it. You didn't seem too big on it. You didn't seem to like it. But now I'm gonna ask you, will you marry me? And that's another thing that kind of like falls flat in this movie is their relationship. It's just kind of like moment. It kind of feels like it's not really the development of their relationship at all. It's just kind of like,
it just happens.
Oh, he sees Elvira. Oh, they're married. Oh, they're fighting. Oh, she's gone. It's interesting because I kind of feel like everything takes a back seat somehow. like I don't know what the point was.
Complicated web of everything backseating everything.
Yeah, like the thing is like I don't know how this movie is almost 3 hours and I still can't gather what the fuck was going on half the time.
It's just power corrupting a man.
See, and like that's ultimately like
greed.
every time I was watching this and thinking like, what the fuck am I gonna talk about on the podcast? Because like, I'm just not getting a lot here. You know, I would think to myself like, okay, well, it's just got to be the whole idea of it. You know, like the whole rise to power and the way it corrupted the man. And like, what's interesting is he was always corrupt. It's almost more like the ambition itself was corrupting, not just the power with it. I mean, like the first thing he does in this movie is murder a man.
That's true. Yep. It's not like you don't really sympathize with him at all. You know, usually you sympathize with your main character, but you don't really get that at all. You're not like...
And I think that might be a product of time. I think there was a time where Tony Montana was probably a little bit more of a sympathetic figure. And I mean, like, there are still elements to him that make him a sympathetic figure, you know, like coming to America for this falsified version of the American dream, and because there is not a real, like, it's all, that's bullshit. But getting the excess and realizing he's not happy and then being like, well, fuck, I must just need more money and more power. And just never getting it. Never getting enough.
More money, more power, get the girl, be happy. There you go. It's all you need. You know, and your word and your balls. That's it.
Your word, your balls, your money, your woman, your power.
Got to get the power. as much as you can. Gold everything.
Gold everything.
Put your initials everywhere.
Dude, he was so tacky. He had like some of the worst sense of style I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, man. I mean, so did his first.
He was rocking
his
some nice
first
suits.
boss.
Don't get me wrong, but like his decor was terrible.
That first boss that he had. What was that one room that like the whole wall was like palm trees and the door like blended in, and like that dude's house was whack. Parts of it were kind of cool, like the red and black and red, black and white, like modern part, like where they had the drink for the first time. That was kind of cool. But I don't know. Yeah,
there were obviously rooms where it's like, wow, if this was all that it was, then maybe it'd be cool. It's the fact that it is so much of all of it, because like it's not like there's a singular vision. You go to a different room and it's a new fucking thing.
Yeah.
And like, I guess if you have enough money, maybe that's something you're into. But like, I don't know. I feel like you got to have some general aesthetic you want your home to be.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a home. Yeah, it
certainly,
didn't really
it
feel
felt like
cozy.
a compound.
Yeah,
it felt like a compound.
Yeah, didn't feel cozy. Huh.
No, man. No, and like that's ultimately why like I'm not too high on this movie. You know, like it was solid and it was visually appealing. I think the soundtrack's a little maybe a little dated, but like it's obviously the 80s, like it's 1983. This is the music, like Stranger Things is mocking this. You know what I'm saying? Or mimicking it. I mean, Stranger Things soundtrack for me is a little better, but
it's different.
You know, it's just a synth for every mood. A synth for every mood. Meanwhile, this is just variations of the same synth.
Yeah, I need like a. I don't know. I think they're really expensive. I haven't really looked into this, but I need a synth, like a legit one where I can just play. I don't even know how to play piano, but I feel like just having a synth just is cool no matter what.
You know what the sound.
Yeah, you just make synths like make anyone a musician. I feel like you can really just hit random notes and be yeah.
Yeah, it's just like no matter what, it's gonna be gas. It's a synth.
Mm-hmm.
We in the synth community stand by the synths. But yeah, I really loved the sound. I really did overall love the soundtrack for this movie. No matter how just thoroughly 1980s it was. I mean, it was 1983 after all. The performances in this movie are awesome. I think there's only one performance that like kind of falls flat for me, and it's Gina's. There are moments where I'm just kind of like, this is really over the top. And it happened a couple times with Al Pacino too, but like when it did, he was really coked out, so you can kind of write it off to that. It was just like whenever she's like berating him, and it's just like, wow, you're really going after it here. I don't know what it was. It just kind of fell flat for me.
Was it just that he was protective, or like did he like?
It's interesting because there's obviously supposed to be that question because she brings it up at the end and is obviously so like serious about it. Like it's a very real thing that she like, and obviously there's also the perspective. He just killed her husband. She goes, he gets rid of every man in my life. What else could he want? Possibly this is what it has to be. So I'm gonna go at him about this and kill him. And you know, like at that point, like how in it are you? You know what I'm saying? Like if you've gotten to the point where you're like, I'm ready to murder someone. I just watched my husband die. Like you're going a little off the rails a little bit, but there's obviously also there's supposed to be the question because she does state it. And then in those moments earlier in the movie where she sees a man running off with his sister and that music plays that reminds me of A Clockwork Orange. And that connection itself makes me go, there's obviously something weird going on here. You know what I'm saying? Like the zooming in on his eyes. And it could just be anger. It could just be like an overprotective zealousness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like it was overprotective until he killed like his brother, basically. Killing, like he didn't know that they were married, obviously, but like that's still like his brother, and like that's enough,
right?
Like there alone, like well, after like from that point, like this dude is just he wants it all. Awesome. He wants it all.
I love the guerrilla tactics used at the end of this movie to infiltrate the compound. I was like, hey, this is like really organized. This might be a real problem. This is good. This is definitely going to be a problem. And then they got to the big hall, and it's like, y'all are just going to line up on the stairs. Y'all just going to line up on the stairs for him.
I mean, you making it pretty easy for a coked out guy just to spray and kill all y'all like pretty quickly. And he's got a grenade launcher too.
But he's got high ground. He had the fortified standing.
That's true. And a grenade launcher. That helps.
That really helps.
Yeah.
And what sucks is like it probably should have done more damage than it did. Like in theory, it would blow up a little bit bigger. Grenades tend to be quite the problem.
Yeah. I mean, he was gonna die anyway, so I'm glad he died in the fantastical fashion, you know.
Oh, it was and that's the scene that really pulls this movie together for me, is that this movie, like, it kind of is like, all right, I think I get what it was. I think I get it. It was all about how over the top and fantastical it was, and how it was all this epic rise and epic fall, and that was kind of just the point. The nitty gritty wasn't all that relevant in this one. The details.
Yeah, even like we're leaving out the whole like Rico and like cop and court side of this movie that was just super boring, you know, like it seemed like it was going to be a big deal, but then it wasn't, and then he had to go assassinate a guy, but then there's kids in it, like it's just like, okay, yeah, this is happening, but like,
yeah, and I was just kind of like, why is he in New York? Isn't this guy like the biggest kingpin in Miami? Why is he going to an assassination in a car?
Yeah, it's just like
I guess like he does that whole thing where he's like, fuck him, you know, I can only trust me, you know, trust me.
Those dudes in the backseat, man. That would suck just to be those guys in the backseat, like that. I don't know, like that'd be a scary man just to be in the presence of. Tony.
Oh, like terrifying, because like he could do anything at any moment. He's completely unpredictable. He's like Sonny Corleone if you turned him up to fucking 15.
Guess the coke helps with that.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. That's the accelerant for you.
Don't get high on your own supply. That was lesson number 2.
Question. Is that the origin? Is it here?
Don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
Is that like that's a good question. I don't know.
Is this another one that we're happening upon that's like, oh shit.
Don't get high on your own supply origin. And it is Scarface.
Holy
Don't get high on your own supply. Tony Montana's famously ignored and ultimately paid the price for. He did ignore this advice. Wow, look at that.
Man, so that's like, there's a reason that's the most iconic quote from this movie. Like,
damn.
That's like literally like part of the reason he was as belligerent as he was, obviously. Was
forgot what lesson number 1 was.
completely lost his shit.
What was lesson number 1? It was something like, yeah, I don't even know.
Don't tell on your friends. Wait, that's another movie. It's like 7 years from now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Never rat.
Lesson number 1, don't underestimate the other guy's greed.
Ah.
Lesson number 1.
Okay, well, I guess he didn't really.
He underestimated his own greed.
A little bit.
And these 2 lessons are just the lessons that he didn't listen to. Like,
and they led to his demise.
Greed and coke.
Greed and coke.
I mean, that can...
That's all you need.
The 2 words that define
to
Tony's
ruin
character.
your life.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's just another, a little bit of the ultra-violence.
Overwhelmingly ultra-violent. Like, there's a connection there. Like, I'm certain there's an influence. I'm certain of it.
I love A Clockwork Orange, man. I love that movie so much. And I love seeing a little inspirations that it kind of has over Hollywood.
Well, there was also a moment in this movie where when he stabs Rabanga and he like waddles off and then he falls onto his back, the blood in that moment, I was like, because the blood didn't look like that again the rest of the movie, and I don't know why. But
that's
like
true.
It really looked like the really red fake, like almost like an homage to like the fake blood that we've seen in like The Godfather. And I mean, another one that I don't think influenced this at all, but like had notorious fake blood was 36th Chamber of Shaolin.
That's true. That man is known for his bad fake blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can see this movie took a lot of inspiration from other, like older movies, but like this movie has inspired quite a lot as well. I
mean, Breaking Bad is pretty much this.
Pretty much this, yeah.
Yeah, Walter White basically is Tony Montana.
Yeah, I like Breaking Bad a lot more, I could say, than Scarface.
Oh yeah, I think, and you know what? There's something to the idea that maybe Tony Montana's life could have been better told as a TV show, because we get fucking 60 hours with Walter White.
Yeah, and
instead of 3, which should have been more than enough. Jesus.
Take another guy that's corrupted by power and greed. Another guy named Tony.
Tony Soprano.
Get that there too.
Anthony Soprano.
Always bringing it back to The Sopranos. Still got to finish that show.
Sopranos.
God dang it! We got The Witcher coming out.
Forrest.
I have so many things coming, like to watch.
Oh, it's the best right now. It's the best entertainment time of our lives.
That's a big time jump. Saying The Witcher's about to come out season 2. For people.
Yeah, that'll date this because this is the first week of April.
Mm-hmm. April, happy April Fools today, actually.
Oh no shit! Today,
April Fools.
Guys, we're just kidding. We're not actually covering Scarface. Okay, so on to Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
What this was really all about.
Black Luke, like the black outfit Luke just goes hard. It's different. That green it's the quiet.
I mean, I won't lie. Leia, the costume design for Leia in this movie, she had some great stuff in The Empire Strikes Back and some great stuff in A New Hope. But I'm gonna tell you, the Ewok look for Leia, top 1 for me. Top 1. That's a fantastic look for Leia. The hair down, the flowers in the hair. That's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. I do agree.
Not a single character design in Scarface stands up to anything in Return of the Jedi, I'll say.
Yeah. No. It's just suits.
I will say it's far more quotable.
True.
to the layman.
Yeah.
And even to the Star Wars fan, it's probably a little bit more quotable. Like, it's like objectively, like, there's just a ton of quotes in Scarface.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to give. Yeah. I'm giving. Got to give this movie some credit, for how just iconic it is. Like that is. It is saying something if it is this quotable and this iconic. I don't know. Is it just?
Well, and like I asked my dad about it because I remember my dad would have only been 6 when this came out, but there was a resurgence for Scarface in the late 90s when my dad had graduated high school. So like he was in the target age for the era where the douchebags were putting Scarface posters up on their wall, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I remember like people loved that movie, and people loved Tony Montana." Like, and he was like, and we were all missing the fucking point.
Interesting. So he was like the cool guy back then. He's like, everyone wanted to be like Tony Montana.
Oh, Tony Montana was cool. He was like the status symbol that like if you got there, that was it.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess it is just another one of these movies where it's a product of its time. Maybe we're watching,
and
now.
I mean, like it does glorify all of it quite a bit. Like, there certainly is a level of glorification, but like, I'm always of the mind, if you're telling a drug related story where the person's an addict and it seems like there might be like there's visually stimulating scenes and iconic scenes where like there's mountains of coke in front of you, or like I think to Euphoria, another one where people think glorifies drugs, and you see like those really pretty slow motion images, and it's like, oh, people are going to want to do drugs after this, and it's like, absolutely we do, until you watch how it affects the people. Like, you got to pay attention to the show. That's all it is. You got to pay attention to what you're watching. Scarface dies at the end of the movie. Rue has to go to rehab. She nearly dies. This is like
yeah, like obviously whenever someone is high or whatever, like obviously they're not going to portray that bad in the moment, like in that moment,
because they are feeling euphoric.
Yeah, like
Jesse Pinkman, Breaking Bad. It goes on
this in no way wanted to make me do coke. Like, in no way. Like, if anything, this is like, yep, I'm good without it. Even more now, like, I'm good. So
absolutely. I can't believe it's as popular as it is. Like, everyone just chill.
Yeah, it's like such a waste of money. It's so expensive for, I feel like, not worth. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it.
You like anxiety attacks?
You like your heart just pumping at max rate, just on one? You like just being on one? Like, I guess you can get shot 50 times and be cool. It makes you feel on top of the world, maybe, I mean,
maybe.
You can get shot 50 times, and it takes a shotgun to the spine, to really take you out.
Man, that's it's a tragedy, this one, to be sure. Tragedy of addiction and betrayal and greed and, I don't know, adultering.
Mm-hmm. That mom knew it. She wasn't hearing it. She wasn't having it, man.
Nah.
Straight up.
She was one of the best parts of this movie.
Mm-hmm. She was like, should have been the wake-up call. Like,
well, and it that was one of the most compelling parts of the movie too, because it was like it called into question whether this was like all a facade for Tony. Like, she's like, "Yo, this ain't you. This isn't you. It's never been you." And he's just kind of, he dives deeper into the coke, dives deeper into the persona, dives deeper into the greed. It's just he loses himself in it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just absolute evil. Was he always evil, or did the power just allow the evil to come out, or did
power and the pursuit of power corrupt?
Mm-hmm. He didn't seem that nice in the first place.
No, he did not.
But I think
He did not.
the dude, he was quite the businessman. For climbing the ranks that fast, I guess I can give him that.
He had some big ideas,
So,
I one thing I also am not a huge fan of from this movie is that we don't get to see this, like, I don't feel like there's any savvy to Tony Montana. I just kind of feel like he lucked into all of it, and like I know that's probably not the case, but they did not portray that well to me.
yeah, the only time that he really like made a move like on his own to like up his own like was at the very beginning where he's like, "Yo, I just killed a man, and you're trying to give me $500?" Like, no, like
Right.
that you're kidding me. Like, yeah, right. And they're like, "Okay, you can make some big money. Here's this." Like, that was the only time that he really like.
I mean,
did...
I liked when he took out Frank. That was a good part of the movie too. But like that was just because he was there, and he'd just been
True.
shot at. He was like,
yeah, I guess when he went to Colombia, that was like him like stepping up and like talking that like being hella strategic and like, he wasn't even supposed to talk in that scenario. He was supposed to just be there, to be there. But he's really the one that took control and was like, made the guy even realize like, yeah, I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. You're a rat anyways, get him out of here.
yeah.
And then let me talk to this real businessman here. So I guess he did make his own moves there, but
how about that scene where they somehow convinced Tony Montana that he wasn't in some sort of what looked like an interrogation room as he was counting all that money?
Yeah, that was a part of the movie where I'm like.
Well, like, and it also made me call into question Manny's loyalty because Manny set up the whole meeting with the guy and everything, and then like that wasn't addressed at all. Like he didn't doubt Manny at all for that, I don't think. And then like it just didn't. It ultimately kind of like dissipated. It like didn't really become a problem. It was just kind of a part of the movie, and I was like, and that's the thing is that when you do have. Watching this movie after having watched The Sopranos, where you watch 80 hours of Tony Soprano, and Breaking Bad, where you watch 60 hours of Walter White, it is so difficult to pull this off, what they're trying to do, because like I've seen it pulled off so much deeper, so much more emotionally resonant, and just overall better.
Mm-hmm. Only so much you can do in even 3 hours,
Exactly. Exactly.
Even
when you're telling a story of this scale, like it's a big movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know. I guess if I did sympathize with Tony, a little bit more, I guess I could see this movie as being a little better, and like I would enjoy it a little bit more.
I just can't, not in the slightest.
It was still, an enjoyable movie.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I won't like. I don't know if I'll rewatch this movie at any given point.
I don't think I will.
I think that's a oneer and a doneer.
Yeah, I think it's just okay. Now I've seen it. That's good enough.
I've seen Scarface.
Yeah.
But shit, man. Do you want to just go ahead and get to the ratings part of this?
I think we shall. Yeah. I think where to start? Which one you want to start with?
Overall, let's go enjoyment. I think that's typically where we start.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm low. I'm low on this movie. I didn't like it a lot. There were good elements, but if I'm watching a movie for 2 hours and 50 minutes going, man, when's this going to get good? And then like it takes all the way up to like the last 30 minutes in a 3-hour movie. We have problems. So I'm real low. I'm in like the 2.5, 2 range for enjoyment in this movie.
Straight up.
But I mean, like, however, like sometimes style over substance is important. And I think that's kind of what this movie was about, was the style. Like, because like it sure as shit wasn't really about the story. It didn't feel like. It was just kind of like, look at all this shit. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think,
wow.
the only other movie on this list that was like a low enjoyment was like MASH. I'm trying to think if I enjoyed this movie more or less than MASH.
Well, I mean, we've had a couple that like, I'm putting this near for my enjoyment level. Like, I think back to like Taxi Driver. I didn't really like Taxi Driver.
Oh, that's true. That MASH and Taxi Driver are lowest.
And I think Blade Runner even last week wasn't all that high.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And so like when I'm like thinking of it amongst those, I like this movie more than I like Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I can confidently say I like this movie more than I like Taxi Driver. I think stylistically it was much more appealing to watch. I think comparing Robert De Niro and Al Pacino is kind of like unfair. They're both fucking awesome, so like what's even the point? But like I certainly enjoyed watching Tony Montana more than I enjoyed watching Travis Bickle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd say not by much though, in my opinion. Like,
yeah,
it's
and
not like
because like I don't think I wasn't high on Blade Runner last week, and I think I don't think I liked this as much as I liked Blade Runner.
No, yeah, no, I like Blade Runner more than this. That's for sure. Like I would maybe rewatch Blade Runner, but I'm not gonna rewatch this.
No, yeah. So like, what was Taxi Driver? What was our enjoyment of that?
A 2.5.
Okay, so I'll go 2.75 with it.
Because
okay. I almost went like I'd even go as high as a 3, but then I was like 3 seems high.
Yeah, 3 is what we gave Blade Runner. So we're like,
okay, 2.75 is exactly where I wanted to be.
Yeah,
damn.
Makes sense. Now as a genre, as a crime film, as a crime film, this is where
this is pretty solid.
So
I'd say, and I don't think it's a 5 though. Like, because like I said, as we compared it to Godfather earlier, which are obviously 5s in that genre, it's just not as good as those. I'm willing to give it like a 4.
That's where I was landing.
2.5, 4 to 4.25, like in that range.
I'm comfortable.
Let's go 4. Let's go 4. Let's be harsh.
Yeah, I
didn't really like it.
As a crime film, you have to have a good crime story, and the story only gets good at the very, very, very end. So, like, yes, all the crime stuff was cool, and it that's what the whole movie was about. I think the story elements lacking, drops at a point.
I agree. Because, the greed and the excess and the coke and the killing and the ultra violence and all this, there was no shortage of crime in the crime movie. I'll tell you that. So I'm with it, and it was portrayed stylistically in a satisfying way. Like it looked appealing. It was satisfying to look at most points. So, I'm overall all right with that side of the film.
Now, as a film, how do we rate this? Because we had this conversation, with Blade Runner, is how much does the story, affect, like, the film?
Yeah, that's what's funny is, like, the whole time I was watching this, I was like, man, I'm having the same dilemma I had with Blade Runner, because it really is the style versus substance battle. Like, what do you care about the most? What is most important? And if the story is good enough, then if one of them is good enough, then the other doesn't matter as much, for me.
And I'm thinking, like, as a film and, like, how this is shot, and, like, I'm thinking, like, compared to Blade Runner was better made, in my opinion, than this movie.
I'm with you.
And we were pretty harsh on Blade Runner's rating.
What we give Blade Runner, 3.5?
3.75.
Okay. I wanted Scarface at 3.5 from the beginning of this, so that's exactly where I want it.
Yeah, I feel like it can't be much lower than a 3.75. Like a 3 just seems like okay. That's
that's not
like
fair.
3.5
though.
Yeah, and that
because that's a 7 out of 10. You know, like that
averages out to a 3.42, which is Blade Runner was a 3.58, so like a little below Blade Runner, a little below Taxi Driver actually. Taxi Driver was 3.53, and this was 3.42. And then
it's because Taxi Driver was overall a better film.
Yeah, we gave that a 4.1 as a film. Like the story,
I mean, because it was the story was a lot better. The story was just a lot better.
But yeah,
and stylistically, it was satisfying. You know, because Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, this month didn't start out
off to a rocky start.
Too strong, but I think there's some good hopes in the future.
But yeah, I mean, like so MASH was our lowest so far, and what's that?
2.67.
I don't think we're ever going to get lower than that.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty hard.
MASH seems like a permanent. Can't believe we started with the lowest movie we're going to do.
Who knows? You never know. Maybe one of these movies that we just haven't seen.
Flat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what can do that, but I think MASH will remain the lowest.
Man, so 1983's controversial masterpiece, Brian De Palma's Scarface, lands a 3.42 out of 5 on the old Penny Bloom scale. Interesting. Just below a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, IMDb gives it a 8.3 out of 10. Which I feel is a little high.
Rare that we're harsher than IMDb.
Yeah,
we don't do that often.
Even okay, so like the older audience gives this like a 7.8, 7.9, but the young audience, younger than 18, gives this 8.5 even.
Interesting.
So it's liked way more amongst the younger audience.
Interesting. I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it.
Nope.
Just not.
Nope.
Just not for me, I suppose. But I have a feeling that next week, 1984's film, I'll be a little bit more satisfied.
Oh yeah.
As we pivot from the iconic crime movie to the iconic sci-fi movie in Terminator. Very excited for this one because I haven't seen it in a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, this is. I know. Like I'm trying to think of what I remember of this movie. Like, and it's probably only like 10 minutes worth of scenes that I can like truly remember, if that really. And like I remember like really liking this movie whenever I watched it. And I think it's going to be really interesting rewatching now. Have like being in the time period and stuff with all these other movies. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm really
going to be pretty enjoyable.
Coming off of Blade Runner a couple weeks ago, we'll have a nice little another example with robots to bounce off of, which is nice.
Crazy though, like VFX that still stand up today, like that are kind of crazy.
That's true. It's true. But yeah, April's looking like a good month. You know, Scarface, it's off to a rough start, but Taxi Driver didn't ruin February. MASH didn't ruin January. You know, there's no reason for Scarface to ruin April.
True.
I think March was just like holy shit. How the fuck did we do that? Overall, Blade Runner didn't ruin March.
Yeah, March is the highest rated month by 0.01. So
there you go.
I mean, one movie, and this one's a 5-movie month. You know, we have 5 movies this month, so it's going to even it's affected even less. So
right now, it's looking like Terminator for 84, Breakfast Club for 85. Aliens for 86.
Mm-hmm. And
then we haven't really just nailed down an 87 yet, it looks like.
yeah.
I'm thinking Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, yeah. We have Spaceballs or slash La Bamba for 87. So that one's kind of up in the air, but I'm down to watch Spaceballs because I've never seen it. And you said it was like, I have to see this movie.
Spaceballs is just the goofiest shit of all time. And like, it's like, we need another goofy one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We need to hop on the comedy train every once in a while and just have a nice, quick, fun chat.
Yeah.
And, I think we'll have one at the end of April here. But
I think we got a good month coming up, for sure.
I think we do too. But yeah, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. And we are continuing our journey through 52 years of film next week with 84's Terminator. We started on the first day of January with MASH, continued every Friday since then, 71, 72, 3, 4, 5, all the way through the 70s, taking us to 84 next week, and it'll take us all the way through 2022 at the end of December. So if you could, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom so I can afford to do all that shit. That'd be awesome. It'd be huge. It's just huge for me, and the support is awesome. The few patrons we have right now, I really appreciate all of them. But you know, they listen to all the content. They're supporters, you know, and I love knowing we have supporters, and that's awesome. And then if you would go follow on Twitter at PennyBloomPod, so that if any of these movie decisions for the next month, if we nail down what 1987's film is going to be, Spaceballs or La Bamba, you'll find out there. If you would follow on Instagram at PennyBloom Podcast, where I post up a bunch of graphics for every episode. And yeah. So yeah, let's see. Quote. Got one. Peace, love, and bloom. And the only thing in this world that gives orders is balls.
Good.